Audio Reviews Audio Media Part 134, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I feel like every time I review a sitcom, I give the exact same review, and yet these are also my most requested reviews, and I never know what to do with myself because I want to keep things interesting around here. Basically, the way this style of comedy works is by having a full cast of characters that are comedic archetypes, which are basically characters that take a small handful of human traits and expand them to an over-the-top level so that when they interact with each other, silly chaos things occur. That is where the comedy comes from. So you will have the character who never has any idea what's going on, and the straight man who's always straight-faced and flat affect, the overconfident, overeager braggart who fails at everything that they do, etc., etc. And we often associate these archetypes with neurodivergence for two different reasons. The first is that neurodivergence is diagnosed via some specific trait being clinically too much or too little in relation to what is typical. So archetypes will often be easily described as ADHD or anxious or depressed or autistic because they are an exaggerated version of those traits. The second reason we often associate these archetypes specifically with developmental disabilities is because the history of the major popularization of clown via royal courts and the history of disabled people, primarily developmentally disabled or short-statured people, being kept as pets by rich people is the exact same history. And many non-disabled clowns were deliberately copy what the disabled people were doing, some of whom were deliberately performing and some of whom were just being themselves. We don't have a whole lot of historical information on that for a lot of reasons to get laughs. So a lot of traditional clown is literally just aping developmentally disabled people. So whenever people wonder why shows like this have clearly neurodivergent characters but never make them deliberately canon, that then brings in that history and the question of whether that would then tiptoe into freak show territory of laughing at disability versus laughing along with it, which is something you don't really think about unless the label is explicitly brought up. And if it were, it might ruin the magic a little bit. That being said, there are some cases in sitcoms or dramedies where it has worked with Community and Everything's Gonna Be Okay as examples, but people very rarely try to make it work. But anyway, in this show, Amy and Holt and Boyle all feel autistic, Jack feels ADHD, but also they're not real people. They're deliberately two-dimensional expansions of traits with a long history and legacy behind that now you know and can bother your friends by info dumping about it next time they ask you to watch their comfort show.